Arii, and I already took a sneak peek at the teams they're going to be playing, and I am definitely looking forward to this matchup. Some very, very interesting teams. But before we get into those, we are going to have a look at Baris's accomplishments, going all the way back to 2016 South Africa national finalist, 2016 World's Top 8, 2017 OCIC Top 8, and 2017 Danish Open champion. And he's going to be playing a team of Regidrago, Goldango, Rillaboom, Urshifu Rapid Strike, Tornadus, and Arcanine Hisuian.
Yeah, it's a pretty standard Regulation E team here, where you have Goldango and Regidrago as kind of the outliers as his special attackers, where most of the rest of the format, right, are usually physical attackers, besides, say, Fluttermane, Regidrago, or even Goldango. So you'd expect a lot of the damage would be provided from those two on the top on Baris's end, and then the support coming out from both Rillaboom with Fake Out, Arcanine on its Intimidate, and Tornadus, of course, because of that silly prankster ability, just really being an absolute menace. But, Baris, he definitely can feel confident in this matchup, as he also qualified or got day 2 at the World Championships this year in Yokohama. So, after taking a bit off, doing other things for him to come back to the game and have such a strong performance, all those 2016, 2017 accomplishments, but Baris is still at the top of his game.
Yeah, I think if we listed all of his accomplishments here, we'd have more accomplishments here than we have moves on his Pokemon. So I can't showcase everything here. But I am excited to see another Goldango here for Team Germany. Of course, Maurice was playing that setup, Terra Dragon set, but Baris here opting for that Terra Steel Choice Spec set, which of course we have also seen quite a bit since the beginning of Scarlet Violet.
Yeah, and that trick could be really nasty to deal with sometimes, because a lot of times, if you're not prepared, if you just expect your opponent to click Terra Steel, Make It Rain, with choice specs, it can really catch your opponent off guard by possibly tricking onto a disadvantageous position, like tricking onto, say, an Amoonguss or one of your more supportive Pokemon. So I think over the course of this set, Baris might want to evolve his Goldango strategy at some point to just more than just clicking Make It Rain. I know it feels great to click a choice specs, Make It Rain, and click Terra Steel, but if you can keep your opponent on their toes with that trick, it can really change the game plan that your opponent's going for.
Yeah, and when we will be taking a look at the other team, we can see that, there are a few Pokemon that definitely do not want to get a choice specs tricked into them. So yeah, here is his opposing team from Kaito Arii, of course, which is going to be Baxcalibur, Ninetales, Sincha, Heatran, Roaring Moon, and Dondozo. Dondozo without a Tatsugiri here on the field. And one of my favorite new Pokemon finally getting a chance to shine on stream is that Sinistra.
Yeah, Kaito doing his best Alex Gomez impersonation with the solo Dozo, not having Tatsugiri on the team, and you can see how it helps out with this team composition specifically, where Kaito relying heavily on the Ninetales Baxcalibur double ice combination, making Baxcalibur both bulkier on his defensive side while the snow is up, and then having access to Aurora Veil, which would make your all hits from physical and special attackers have that damage halved for, as we can see, the next 8 turns thanks to that Light Clay ability. But Shona, for sure, this Sinistra can be really important in this matchup, because there is so much hyper offense from the other side on Baris's end that hospitality on the switch-in, recovering your teammates' health by a quarter on the switch-in, is really important, as well as the strength stat, trying to lower the attack stat from some of those Pokemon, say Rillaboom or Arcanine. On the other end, I would anticipate the Sinistra definitely playing a huge key factor in this matchup.
Yeah, the hospitality is definitely going to help the Baxcalibur stay alive even longer, because as you just mentioned, it's going to get a boost in the snow, and of course, if the Ninetales sets up an Aurora Veil, it's going to be even bulkier, and it's also playing that Assault Vest, so Baris is going to have to deal some very, very big damage here to get through all of these walls. That Dondozo, of course, behind Aurora Veil is also going to be very tanky and going to start spamming Yawn, but I think Baris with this Regidrago might have the opportunity to just, start going for some Dragon Energies and just getting some KOs on everything except for maybe that Fairy-type Ninetales.
Yeah, for sure. Anything besides Ninetales is very much threatened by the dragon energy on his side. But Kaito should be prepared for that strategy as the Japan national champion this year, as well as going into Yokohama was widely considered as one of the potential favorites to win the entire tournament. So finishing in top 16 in Yokohama shows just how great of a trainer he is, and you wonder if maybe he has the advantage on his side since he's using the less conventional strategy. But let's get into it right here. Game 1 in this matchup, Germany and Japan. You're going to have Kaito leading Baxcalibur Dondozo and Baris with the Tornadus Arcanine lead.
Yeah, so there's a few options here. Of course, or maybe I shouldn't say too many options, because Arcanine, it does have access to Will-O-Wisp, but the thing with Baxcalibur is, thanks to its ability, Thermal Exchange cannot be burned, so, it's just gonna get an attack boost. So, you don't want to Will-O-Wisp into that Baxcalibur, and the Tornadus here could set up a Tailwind, which might help the Regidrago that's possibly in the back, or maybe even a Goldango, just, start attacking first and dishing out some damage. There is no Ninetales on the field here, meaning that, there's not going to be an Aurora Veil set up this turn. Baxcalibur currently does not have the defense boost from the snow, but instead a Terrestrialization.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to lock in the Terra Water on Arcanine. I think a lot of times you see Terra Fairy or Terra Normal, right, on a Choice Band set with Extreme Speed, but this time around, Baris deciding to Terra Water this Arcanine, getting out of that dreadful typing into something more defensive. Tornadus with a Protect, going to play it safe on this turn. Here, Rock Slide does connect into both of Kaito's Pokemon, so the question is, do you get a flinch for Baris? No, the Icicle Crash goes towards Tornadus' Protect, so that's all good and dandy. And Dondozo breaks through the Rock Slide flinch, yawning this Hisuian Arcanine.
Yeah, no flinches this turn, and now this Arcanine might have to consider switching out, otherwise it will be put to sleep. And Tornadus here did go for Protect, did not get any damage from the Icicle Crash. I'm not sure if, how Baris's Tornadus is trained here, but it is carrying Focus Sash, meaning that it will be able to take at least one Icicle Crash, so it does have the opportunity to still safely set up a Tailwind and stay around for another turn. One switch that Baris could consider, of course, is into that Goldango, since Goldango, thanks to the Good as Gold ability, won't be able to be put to sleep, and also takes most moves from Baxcalibur very well, but it is playing high horsepower, so that's also going to be a threat.
Bleak Wind Storm missing on the Dondozo, but does connect on the Baxcalibur, and the double target takes down Baxcalibur. So one of Kaito's big strategies or big win conditions in Game 1 has been knocked out early on. The Yawn will go into the Tornadus slot, so Arcanine is put to sleep on this turn, and then at the end of next turn, if Tornadus does not swap out, it will also go to sleep.
Yeah, so now the Arcanine being asleep, meaning that it won't be able to go for any more Rock Slides or also Will-O-Wisp, but now the Sinstcha coming in here. And honestly, even though Baxcalibur has been knocked out, I think the Sinstcha is in a pretty good position to start setting up some Calm Minds, because, yeah, this Tornadus can go for a Bleak Wind Storm, of course, but Sinstcha can take at least one of those, and then, of course, Tornadus is going to be put to sleep and won't be able to use any more of those until it wakes up. So, yeah, but of course, then there is the threat of the Goldango in the back that, cannot be put to sleep, can fire off some Choice Specs Shadow Balls, but you have to get that damage in quick before the Sinstcha sets up too many special defense boosts with that Calm Mind.
And so this Tornadus does switch out, as you're talking about. It's just too dangerous of a position to trade one Bleak Wind Storm that might miss at the cost of being put to sleep, so the Goldango will come into that slot. Baris actually double swapping on this turn, so Arcanine still has not used or gotten through that first mandatory turn of sleep. It's going to be important to notice later on when Arcanine comes back onto the battlefield that he'll have to stay asleep. And that is as free of a Calm Mind as you can possibly get on that turn, raising his special attack and special defense by one stage. Goldango takes the Wave Crash and can take that considerably well, considering that looks like it's potentially, barring critical hit, a 3-hit knockout.
Yeah, might just, I'm not sure what the role was on that, but I'm pretty sure this Goldango can take at least one more Wave Crash. And of course, the Sinstcha here is at +1 special attack and special defense now, meaning that it is going to take moves from both of these special attackers on Baris' side. a little bit better, but you know, it is a full HP Regidrago here and a Choice Specs Goldango, so I'm curious to see if the Cinscha can survive this turn, but is gonna Terra into that Water type, which is a great Terra in this situation, of course, to not be weak against a Shadow Ball here anymore, but these are two very strong special attackers. Dondozo deciding to go for a Protect, does not want to take a Dragon Energy this turn, and there it is. How much damage is it going to do to the Cinscha?
This is with a Calm Mind boost, so it is a full health Regidrago, though, which shows it is over half of its HP taken away. There's the Goldango locking in Trick, but it goes towards Dondozo's Protect instead, so Kaito will be safe on this turn. And it's time for some Matcha Gotcha here, not doing too much damage onto either of these Pokemon, because obviously Regidrago being the Dragon typing, and then the Goldango just being so bulky. No burn either on the Regidrago slot.
Yeah, and now, I mean, the Regidrago has taken a little bit of damage, which is going to impact Dragon Energy a little bit. I'm not sure if the Cinscha can take another Dragon Energy, so yeah, it is going to go for Protect.
Yeah, we'll Protect, and we know that Baris has the Trick locked in on this turn, so Kaito is going to have to adjust accordingly. Draco Meteor goes towards the Protect, though, so this Regidrago is not going to get any damage here on this turn, and now Goldango finally switching its held item with Dondozo, giving it Choice Specs, which is absolutely not what it wants to see. Immediately activating the Citrus Berry as well, recovering 25% of his HP. So perfect turn from Baris to get his Goldango much healthier. And now this Dondozo is locked into Yawn.
Yeah, that was a really, really good trick there from the Goldango, and now the Goldango has also, you know, recovered a little bit of health as well, and can now freely switch its moves. And the Yawn is really not a great move to be locked in here, because, you know, you cannot Yawn the Goldango, and this Regidrago, of course, you know, it could switch and you could still Yawn that slot, but once again, now this Cinscha here is in a dangerous position to be knocked out by a move from this Regidrago and Goldango, and Kaito decides that he does not want to let it go down just yet, decides to switch it out here into his Heatran.
So losing that Calm Mind boost that it had, but it will be a resisted hit onto the Heatran, so obviously Kaito taking that hit a little bit better. And then the follow-up from a Shadow Ball into that slot brings the Heatran down pretty low, and we know that the Yawn has to be clicked, but of course it will fail thanks to that Good as Gold ability. Goldango is not able to be put to sleep. So the Leftovers recovery was going to help the Heatran out a little bit here. He does that have access to Protect, so maybe if you're worried about another Shadow Ball, you can Protect this turn. But it seems like even without the Choice Specs, Goldango is doing just fine.
Yeah, even without the Choice Specs, still dealing a good amount of damage, and now the Regidrago is asleep, as is that Arcanine in the back still, so maybe Kaito can find a way to come back from this. The thing is that, you know, the Cinscha in the back has already taken some damage, and of course, even if it decides to, or it tries to recover some health with that Strength Sap, you know, the Regidrago is a special attacker, so, you know, it doesn't have a lot of attack anyway, and so, you know, you might have to wait for something like the Arcanine to come back in here.
Yeah, the Dondozo finally switching out as Kaito realizes not much left he can do, since he physically cannot click any other buttons with that Choice Specs locking it into Yawn, so might as well have the Cineshook pop back in, give a little hospitality over to the Heatran on this turn that you know Regidrago will stay asleep. Is that enough recovery? Yes! Hospitality for the win as Heatran is able to stick around, but Goldango dodges the Heat Wave! That's the one that you had to hit if you're Kaito, and that is disastrous.
That is very unfortunate, because I'm confident that Heatwave would have been able to knock out that Goldango, which is currently a huge problem for that Cinscha on the field. You know, if that Goldango had gone down, you know, the only other Pokemon in the back from Addis that is not asleep is that Tornadus. So I feel like Cinscha could have maybe tried to set up some more calm minds, but now this Goldango still being on the field means that, you know, this Heatran is not going to be able to survive another Shadow Ball here, and, you know, we do have Strength, Sap, Calm Mind, Protect, and Matcha Gotcha on this Cinscha, so no redirecting Rage Power or anything in that direction, so gonna see how this turn plays out.
Yeah, pretty tough spot for Kaito here in game one. Can he pull it back, or will Baris take the early lead in this series? Regidrago does stay asleep on this turn. The Shadow Ball from the Golden goes towards Keytrain's Protect, so this Machagacha is free to connect onto both of Baris' Pokemon, but like we saw last time around, it really does not do too much damage to either of them.
Yeah, no, you really need some Calm Mind boost. There is the burn on the Goldengo, which, is nice to have, but as a special attacker, not really going to care about that too much, and I think a Heat Wave at this point would KO even without the burn damage, and, since just still not doing a lot of damage either. What could matter, I guess, is maybe that now the Goldengo has taken a little bit of damage from the burn, maybe a Wave Crash from the Dondozo in the back could possibly knock it out, judging by the damage it did that first time. But now this Regidrago is currently still asleep, but I believe it has been asleep for 2 turns, so, there's a good chance it could wake up this turn.
Oh no, Regidrago does not. He's taking a nap. I know it's a little early for me, different than our EU and Japanese players. They're playing much later in the day, but Regidrago is still sleeping, and he doesn't need his help as the Golden Ghost still KOs Heatran on this turn. But now it's time for Sinish to go for a Calm Mind boost. It's got a raise to its special attack and special defense. It is pretty healthy if you think about it. It's over still in the green at this point, but Regidrago is going to wake up the next turn, and then Kaito has his Dondozo as his last remaining Pokemon that's already very low health.
It is low health, and it is also still carrying that choice specs that the Goldengo kindly tricked it into carrying. So yeah, kind of forced into maybe looking to Wave Crash, but a Draco Meteor is gonna come out here from this Regidrago that wakes up. It's not gonna KO the Sinch. Yeah, the green tea really showing how tanky it can really be, especially after a special defense boost. But the Shadow Ball is gonna come out before the Dondozo can do anything and is gonna knock it out. And as much as I think that Sincha is a great Pokemon, I think even at a +1 Machagacha is not gonna do nearly enough to knock out either of these Pokemon here.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't knock out either of them. No critical hits, and it's not going to be able to recover enough HP from the Machagacha. It did get some pretty solid amount of recovery, so it's important for Kaito to know going into next game necessarily. Maybe that that Machagacha could be if you can get multiple Calm Mind setup, right? That might be a better strategy than just the +1, because even on the special defense side, sure, you're not doing enough offensively, and you're also not tanking enough on that special defense side, as this combination Earth Power and Thunderbolt will be enough, and Baris Akcos taking game 1 here in this best of 3 over Kaito Arii.
Yeah, very, very nice game 1 by Baris, even though half of his team was sleeping. That Arcanine in the back still taking a nap, but will be awake for that upcoming game 2 in just a little bit. But Kaito really, that Baxcalibur going down so early might have been a little bit unfortunate for him. He was playing most of the game with only 3 Pokemon. And of course, we did say that there are a few Pokemon on his team that really do not want to have the choice specs tricked into it. Dondozo being one of them, as we saw, being locked into Yawn and then being forced to switch, really not that great for it. And even Sincha, if it gets the choice specs tricked, yeah, it'll do a little bit more damage with Machagacha, but it won't be able to, set up its Calm Minds, which I think is really important here in this matchup, against all of these special attackers.
Yeah, for sure, I agree. It just seemed like in Kaito's kind of how he was trying to play that matchup, even with the Dondozo and going for Yawn and trying to just play the slow game, Baris just did not allow that to happen. He was just providing too much offensive pressure to allow Kaito to just sit there and click Yawn every turn, and especially once the trick went through, stopping his strategy there. So I think if you're looking for adjustments here in game 2 on Kaito's end, I think the first thing would be to have a bit more of an aggressive game plan, maybe Pokemon next to the Sinistra that can provide a lot of offensive pressure, because if you just sit there and hope to Yawn at the end of the turn, well, that's a Dragon Energy and a Draco Meteor, or that's 2 Choice Specs Make It range, or something that's a lot of damage up front before they actually fall asleep. Yeah,
so maybe Kaito might consider bringing his Ninetales this game, because he did not bring it in that first game, and I believe we are ready to go into this game too, so we're gonna have to see what adjustments he makes this time around.
Alright, so let's see. For now, there is no adjustment in the lead on Kaito's end. It will be a little bit different, though, for Baris, as he has a little more wiggle room to work with. Tornadus Golden Go will be the lead there compared to the Baxcalibur and Dondozo on Kaito's side.
Yeah, so now the Dondozo back here is once again threatened to be tricked that choice specs from the Goldango, and especially if that support from the Tornadus that can set up a Tailwind means that might even be able to trick the choice specs into Baxcalibur and take away the Assault Vest, which could also be very funny. Baxcalibur, of course, as a physical attacker, is not going to benefit from the choice specs either. They're gonna have to see what Baris decides to lock in here. You know, we did mention the Baxcalibur does have the Assault Vest, so we'll be able to take special attacks from the Goldango very, very nicely.
Tornadus does switch out on this opening turn of Game 2 into the Arcanine, and I was going to say it's important to get that attack stat down on Baxcalibur because it's not holding a clear amulet. As you mentioned, it's Assault Vest, so it is definitely susceptible to being intimidated. There's no way, like a Swords Dance or anything else, to raise its attack. But Kaito's going on the offensive this turn. Terra, Water, Baxcalibur. We've seen the Sinister turn to a Water type. Dondozo's already a Water type. He just loves these Water Pokemon for Kaito. The Thunderbolt with the Choice Specs brings Dondozo down incredibly low. Not enough for a one-hit KO, but it will be forced to eat its Citrus Berry, and it's not going to be able to endure another Thunderbolt on the next turn. But with that Intimidate, the Goldango is going to take that high horsepower that much better. And on the switch in, the Hisuian Arcanine is already feeling drowsy.
Yeah, that Arcanine getting yawned directly means that it might have to switch right back out right away, meaning that, of course, you can bring in another Intimidate later. And the Baxcalibur going for a Terra Water here, probably to maybe make it rains even better. But now it is weak to that Thunderbolt that the Goldango just locked itself into. And, you know, the Dondozo took that first Thunderbolt just barely, you know, and even with the Citrus Berry recovery is not going to be able to take another one of those. So Arcanine, yeah, does not want to sleep this turn, is switching out.
Baxcalibur does have the Assault Vest, though, so even though it is a Terra Water type Pokemon right now, it would be able to live through that Thunderbolt if that's what Baris wanted to go for. We saw Dondozo was not going to take that hit at all, so Alolan Ninetales will switch in this turn. Here is the Choice Specs Thunderbolt through the Assault Vest. It does just barely half towards that slot. And Ice School Crash, he called the Tornadus switch in, but it hangs on with 2 HP.
Wow, I still crashed into the Arcanine slot. Very, very nice play, you know, predicting that. Okay, either your Arcanine is going to stay in here and just fall asleep next turn, or, you know, something like a Tornadus, maybe Rillaboom, maybe Regidrago, all Pokemon that are going to be hit very nicely by that Icicle Crash. And the Tornadus, of course, hanging on with 2 HP doesn't really matter since it is playing Focus Sash, so it would have survived anyway. And now, of course, Baris can go for that Tailwind, so the Goldango could go for another Thunderbolt before this incoming Ninetales can set up a Aurora Veil, because, you know, that would have helped the Baxcalibur to live another Thunderbolt. But now it's not going to be that easy since there is the speed control, but of course the Baxcalibur also with Ice Shard, you know, doesn't matter since Tornadus has Prankster.
The Ice Shard will go off into Tornadus, he pretty much was forced to target that slot so that Tornadus cannot Rain Dance later on in this matchup and get rid of the Aurora Veil. But the Thunderbolt into Baxcalibur, as we saw, was more than enough for a 2-hit KO. So that 2 HP survival on Tornadus was absolutely crucial for Baris, and that was all because of Hisuian Arcanine's Intimidate on the prior turn, lowering his attack, letting Tornadus just hang on out. Not sure how often Baris has calced for the -1 Terra Water Baxcalibur, you know, when putting this team composition together, but might have just been a happy little accident that Tornadus hung on there.
Yeah, and now with the Tailwind, of course, you know, having that Baxcalibur knocked out this turn, you know, was great to have it gone in that first game as well. Now this Dondozo coming in here, the Aurora Veil is up, and the Dondozo did not get intimidated thanks to that Oblivious ability. So I'm not sure if it's gonna be able to take another Thunderbolt here. Might be a little bit of a roll, and the Skoldango's really not too threatened by either the Ninetales or the Dondozo. The Ninetales, the only attacking move it's playing is Icy Wind, so that's really not gonna do anything to either of Baris' Pokemon here. And, you know, the Arcanine, yeah, might be a little threatened by the Wave Crash, but, you know, that's the thing, if the Thunderbolt is not gonna knock out the Dondozo, then the Wavecraft recoil definitely will.
Alolan Ninetales swapping out, so Kaito is going to reveal his 4th Pokemon in this game, and it should be the Sinistcha here for the Hospitality Recovery. Now remember, the Thunderbolt last time around did about 80% to Dondozo, but that was without the Aurora Veil being set up. So Rock Slide is going to hit onto Dondozo, missing the Sinistcha, and here's the follow-up with a Thunderbolt, and thanks to the Aurora Veil, he gets to hang on through. No Rock Slide flinch means Yawn will go off onto Baris' Arcanine in that slot, and so the Sinistcha does get in for free, but you're pretty much expecting a Protect out of the Dondozo the next turn, right? Or it gets knocked out straight up.
Yeah, it might get knocked out here by the Goldango, and the thing is, now that the Sinistcha is coming in here, you know, this Goldango being locked into Thunderbolt means that it is in a great position to set up some Calm Minds. Of course, the Arcanine can go for a Flare Blitz, but, you know, the Aurora Veil is going to help that Sinistcha tank it a little bit better, and it is going to be put to sleep next turn if it does not switch out. So, yeah, the Sinistcha in a really nice spot here to start setting up.
Arcanine will switch out here on this turn, so it does not fall asleep just like it did in game 1, and Regidrago will come into that slot. So here's the Thunderbolt. No Protect from Dondozo means it does go down on this turn, and Kaito's down to his final 2 Pokemon in this game 2. Sinistcha is really going to be his key to victory, and it starts with 1 Calm Mind, but we saw just how it went in the last game. 1 Calm Mind is not enough. Can this Aurora Veil and the Alolan Ninetales, can it do enough to maybe give Sinistcha 2 or 3 Calm Mind boosts?
I think this could get very interesting because this Regidrago here, it cannot hit this Ninetales. You know, it's immune to its Dragon-type attacks. It can only hit it with Earth Power. So, yeah, you can go for Dragon Energy to get some damage onto the Sinistcha, which is now +1 special defense, still has the Aurora Veil, and the Skoldango is still locked into Thunderbolt, which is not going to do a lot of damage to Sinistcha at all. So, yeah, you know, if you manage to set up maybe another Calm Mind, or even just start going for Matcha Gotcha and just start healing up and dealing damage, this Sinistcha could be very difficult to deal with, but, you know, there is still that Arcanine in the back, which is going to come in here now, good against both of these Pokemon.
And Baris was essentially forced to swap his Goldengo out here on this turn, because if something did unfortunately get knocked out and the Goldengo was stuck choice locked into Thunderbolt against the grass typing on the Sinistcha's end, that would have been really difficult for him. So going to Terrastallize the Regidrago in this set. It will be Terra Poison, so no longer a Dragon type, would not be weak to the Icy Wind anymore on the Aurora or Alolan Ninetales. And here's the Dragon Energy, of course not hitting the Fairy type and not doing too much to the Sinistcha. Here's an Icy Wind connecting onto both of Baris' Pokemon. Only does a little bit of damage, but importantly, it does lower their speed, so that eventually when the Tailwind runs out, you know that both of Kaito's Pokemon will be faster. And don't look now, but that is Calm Mind number 2.
That is Calm Mind number 2, but the Arcanine is on the field here, and honestly, I don't know, even with the Aurora Veil, how well the Sinistcha will be able to take a Flare Blitz. And, I mean, there is the Icy Wind support from the Ninetales, so if we get another Icy Wind here and this Sinistcha manages to outspeed the Arcanine, Matcha Gotcha is going to do neutral damage to the Arcanine and maybe recover enough for it to live the Flare Blitz, and Flare Blitz is going to cause some recoil damage to the Arcanine, and Sinistcha is also playing Rocky Helmet, so that is going to be even more recoil damage. So, yeah, looking like a very close game. This is definitely not over yet for the green tea.
That's a scary play. Icy Wind, which one does it miss? It misses the Regidrago. Way more important to hit the Arcanine because now Arcanine has -2 speed and Sinistra is such a slow Pokemon, but after 2 speed drops, it will outspeed and strength sap the Arcanine, giving it a little taste of its own medicine, essentially like an Intimidate, lowering its attack by 1 stage. Here is a Draco, and it crits through the Calm Mind! Sinistra is down, and Baris is gonna win this match!
No! Oh, that is the one thing you do not want to see in the situation, is that Draco Meteor just critting away. Oh, that is so unfortunate. And yeah, that is gonna be the game. Not much this Ninetales is gonna be able to do against this Arcanine and Regidrago. Kaito just locking in the forfeit. Oh no, that is so sad.